So hi, Robert. I understand there's a public event on September 15th for the Untraining. Why put on the public event? Is there an urgency?
I think that there's an urgency because the world seems to be becoming more and more polarized. People are having more and more difficulty listening to each other. Different positions, whether they're political, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, are just like really getting tight in their particular views of reality. And people in general aren't listening to each other. And the big issues keep not getting dealt with, like racism, the rights of women, etc., etc.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So is the Untraining about politics or is it racism? I mean, what is it? What's the word?
Training is about looking at our social conditioning, bringing awareness to what that conditioning is. What is conditioning? Conditioning is stereotypes, images, and things we've been told about how people are, how they manifest, what they do. And we want to look at that because we want to be able to make our own decisions about how people are based on our actual interactions with individuals rather than concepts and stereotypes about a group of people. And we want to be able to look at how that social conditioning informs the economic and political situation in terms of what access to resources that different groups have. I think there's a lot of economic discrimination still in the United States. I think the Chevron fire in Richmond recently pointed that out, that the people who took the impact and the brunt of that were people of color. And that tends to be the case. So I feel the Richmond fire is actually a great image. There is an urgency. Over 4,000 people went to the hospital because of that. And that occurred in a neighborhood where people who have less access to legal representation, less power to say no, not in our neighborhood. So in the Untraining, we look at our social conditioning so that we can make decisions and know what options we have towards influencing how our world is constructed and how we might want to change that. Because right now it's not equitable. The United States has the resources so that everyone would have access to health care, education, and a decent life. Why isn't it happening? That's the urgency.
So I understand the flyer that there are several different groups. There's the white liberal Untraining, and then there's for the Chinese descent. And Lilian, I understand you're from the Chinese group. Could you speak more about the Untraining from that perspective?
Well, we'll say that out of the event there'll be groups forming to work on this. There are white groups, Chinese groups, and groups of people of color.
Right. And at this public event, it really is an opportunity for us who have done the work and who are doing the work to provide a safe space for people to experience it and to experience themselves in the work. And the great thing about a public event is that if you're curious enough and you have enough questions, you're only taking about a few hours of your day to have an experience that may or may not work for you. And it's okay either way. I mean, the work is really about exploring what works for you. And in the Chinese group, the original group came together because we had a lot of questions that we wanted to explore about our own ethnic identity and its relationship to other groups, its relationship to the white dominant society, and how we exist in those relationships and that social conditioning. And how that affects our ability to make choices for ourselves and for our communities.
Can you, I noticed on the flyer, part of the quote that's up at the top says, from Rita Shimon says, loving yourself is a political act. Can you say what that means to you?
I can say what that means to me. I think we exist in a world where it takes a lot to be able to appreciate and love yourself. And the inability to appreciate and love yourself affects how we're able to love others. And that, I think, speaks to the polarity and the tightness that Robert was talking about, and how we decide to build and form relationships and interact with one another. And, you know, there is so much in the conditioning, in the messaging, that this is good and this is bad, that you need to be more of this or less of this. You know, there's so many isms, so many images, so many, you know, should and should nots, that even the act of loving yourself is like a political hurdle. There's all these things that you have to overcome in order to even feel a sense of gratitude for who you are and to appreciate all that you are and why that is. And we want loving yourself to be an experience, that we can have every moment, that we can choose to have, that we don't have to first say, well, I'm not good enough, I'm too much of something, and as a result, I can't love myself the way I would want to.
In terms of that, if there's parts of ourselves that we don't love, in fact, that we don't like, we tend to project that out onto other groups, and we tend to project it onto target groups. So in a way, you could say that when we do this work, we are cutting that tendency, and cutting that tendency improves dialogue, or actually makes dialogue possible. And listening